In this video, we're talking about calculating interest on savings accounts. And we're going to talk about two different kinds of interest. One is simple interest, and we actually have a formula for this, where the future value that you're trying to calculate equals the present value, or this is sometimes called the principal, times 1 plus the interest rate expressed as a decimal times your time frame. And for our purposes, we are only going to use years. So it's very important that you remember that your R, or your interest rate, has to be expressed as a decimal. So to change a percentage to a decimal, you're going to move the decimal place 2 places to the left. So 25% would be 0.25. So you have $2,500, which would be our present value, that you have in, what would you have, what would you have in 5 years? And 5 years would be our time frame if you earn simple interest of 4%. Now remember, we have to express that 4% as a decimal. So we're going to move the decimal place two places to the left, so that would be expressed as 0.04. So let's put this information in our formula. We're going to say future value equals 2,500 times 1 plus 0.04 times 5. Now it's very important that you put this in parentheses. If you don't, your calculator will give you the wrong answer. And you're just going to enter this entire string in your calculator, and you're going to get that the future value of this investment would be $3,000. Okay, we're also going to talk about compound interest, and we're talking about compound interest annually because we're only talking about years. And the formula for that is, again, our future value equals our present value, or our principal, times 1 plus our interest rate expressed as a decimal, this time the whole quantity, that 1 plus r, raised to our time period, which again we're only going to use years. And again, you must express your interest rate as a decimal by moving your decimal 2 places to the left. So let's take a look at this problem. This is going to be like one you're going to see on your homework. Suppose that you invest $5,000, and that is going to be our present value, which earns 5%, which is our interest rate, compound interest for the first 10 years. So that 10 years is going to be our time frame. And that means we're going to have more to this problem. Then it's going to earn 7%, which is another interest rate, for the next 5 years, which is another time frame. So how much money would you have after 15 years? So I'm actually going to have two problems kind of stuck together here. I'm going to take my original 5,000, and I'm going to say that times 1 plus my 5% interest rate expressed as a decimal, which would be 0.05, raised to 10, because the first 10 years I'm earning 5%. Then I'm going to take that entire quantity, so I'm going to put the whole thing in parentheses, and I'm going to take that times 1 plus the 7% interest expressed as 0.07 raised to 5, which is the next 5 years. And I'm literally going to enter this entire string in my calculator. Make sure that you have all the parentheses in there, and when you do, you will get that in 15 years I'll have $11,423.04. And that's probably rounded. Okay, I'd really like you to try your calculator right now to make sure you get the same thing that I did. Because if you're having a problem with your calculator, contact me and I will help you troubleshoot them. Because they all work just a little bit differently. But they're powerful tools if you know how to use them. All right, so this is how you find compound interest. But you're going to run into some other problems in your work where you're not finding the future value. In this particular problem, they give you the future value and they want you to find the present value. So I'm going to use the same formula, but instead of the future value, I'm going to say 19,000 equals, and I'm just going to use a P instead of a PV to represent my present value, times 1 plus my interest rate, which is 2%, expressed as a decimal, 0.02, raised to for 12 years, my time period of 12 years. Now, what I'm going to do is I am literally going to, in my calculator, either use a fraction key or a division key and say 19,000 divided by 1.02 raised to the 12th power. Now, in your calculator, there should be what I call a caret key. It looks like this. So if you put 1.02, I should erase that, and then hit that caret key, caret 12, that says take 1.02 and raise it to the 12th power. And when you do that, you are going to get that your present value is $14,981 and 37 cents, dollars and 37 cents, and that's rounded. Okay, you're also going to be asked to find what your interest rate is. Now this one is much harder, so I need you to pay close attention to this, and I want you to make sure and try to do this in your calculator. All right, so they give us the future value, and they give us the present value, and but they don't give us the interest rate, so I'm just going to use R for that, and they give us that our time frame is 10. So I'm going to put those pieces into our formula. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 1,340, and I'm going to get, when I enter that, I'm going to get a long decimal, 1.28, and then it goes on from there. And I'm just going to leave that in my calculator, because what I want to do to get rid of this 10 right here, whoa, hang on, that didn't work well. I meant to just highlight that, but it didn't work. To get rid of this 10, I'm going to have to take the 10th root. And here is how you do this in your calculator. So leaving that number in your calculator and not hitting clear or enter, you are going to enter this string. You're going to type in 10, then you're going to hit the second button, the root button with the little X above the square root. Then you're going to hit second and A and S. And usually this A and S is down like underneath the 3. It's in different places and different calculators, but it's usually down at the bottom. And what that is saying is take the 10th root of whatever that answer was. And then if you should get another long decimal, 1.02499 or something 9, and leave that in your calculator, because now you are going to then subtract that from 1. So you're just going to say -1 and hit enter, and then you're going to change the long decimal that you have to a percent. And you're going to do that by moving your decimal place 2 places to the right and rounding. So I get this is 2.5%. Now go back if you need to, rewatch this, but try this in your calculator. And again, if you're having issues, contact me. All right. The last kind of a problem I think you're going to have is where they want you to find the time period. They've given you the present value, the future value, and your interest rate. And so we're going to type in our future value, our present value, and our interest rate, which is 4%. which we express as 0.04, and then we're just going to leave t for time. And how we're going to solve this is we're going to use guess and check. So let's replace our t with a number. So let's start with 5. And I'm going to put that in my calculator, and I get that that's $3,041.63, which is a little low. I want 3,163, so I'm going to try 6. So when I put 6, yep, that's exactly what I needed. So in 6 years. And this one you would just solve with guess and check. Now on your homework when you're doing this, they're going to give you, it's multiple choice, so you can plug in those years and see which one works. All right. Now the last kind of a problem that I want you to be aware of is one like this. It says $500 was deposited into an account earning 7% interest compounded annually. Well, we know that our present value, what we have right now, is $500. We know that our interest rate is going to be 7%, which is expressed as 0.07. And we know that we're using our compound annually formula, which I have listed there. So I'm going to leave the future value as FV equals, I'm going to replace present value with 500, and then 1 plus 0.07. And since they don't give us any time frame, I'm going to just put a t there. So this is the exponential model that represents this situation. And then I can use that model to find out how much money will be in the account after 6 years, which is our time frame. So I put 6 in my formula, and I get that I would have $750.37. Now we have a rule, and this is very handy in the financial rule. It's called the Rule of 72. And what it says is that to find out approximately how many years it will take for your money to double, you take 72 and you divide it by your interest rate expressed as a number. So instead of saying 4%, we're going to just say 4. So estimate how long it will take money to double at 4% compound interest. So I'm going to take 72 divided by 4, and I'm going to say it will take approximately 18 years for that money to double. Okay, now we have been talking about how we are doing compounding annually, but there's a lot of different compounding time frames that are used in the financial world. There's compound monthly, there's compound daily, and those get quite complex. And yes, you could do that. You could find those, but we also have some really cool tools, and one is a calculator. A compound interest calculator. It's put together by the U.S. government, and I've given you a link here. And if you have other compounding time frames, you can use that to get a more accurate information about the yield that you would get. All right, I think that you have enough information from this to do the homework that is assigned in CK12.